Brings me to, I guess, what I came here to talk about tonight, which is, you know, we're living in such an incredible time right now. When I think about the last 5 years that I've been working on, you know, the issue of the tar sands, we've come a long way. You know, a month ago, we swayed the mind of the most powerful man on the planet, President Obama, and got him to say no to big oil. And he denied the presidential permit for the Keystone XL pipeline, which would have linked the Alberta Tar Sands to the Gulf Coast of Texas, which would have resulted in 1 million barrels a day of dirty tar sands fuel going down to the Gulf Coast, which would have dramatically increased the operations going on in the tar sands. So how many of you know what the tar sands is? Just about everybody in the room, or what? How many of you don't know? So there's one. Okay, cool. Right on, I'm with you, sis. You're the 1%. My friends, they're the comedians who run the 1491s, and they joke around about that. After the Zuccotti Park occupation, they went in there and they opened up a fake Indian casino, and said, you know, Native Americans only make up 8% or 0.8% of the U.S. population, so we feel like we're the 1%. You know, the 99% is always hating on them. But anyway, just watch that video on YouTube. But essentially, you know, a little rap about the tar sands, just so that we get that out of the way, clear up any misinformation that you might have. The tar sands is the world's largest construction project ever in the history of mankind. They have removed more earth in the tar sands since they began developing it than the Suez Canal, the Great Pyramids, the Great Wall of China, the 10 largest hydroelectric dam projects on the planet combined, okay? It takes 77,000 workers to operate the tar sands every single day. It's going 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. They are using the world's biggest earth movers. These machines are 10 stories high. One bucket load from these earth movers is 300 tons. They use trucks to fill up with these earth movers that are 3 stories high. And of course, they carry 300-ton loads per truck, all right? The amount of earth required to produce 1 barrel of oil from the tar sands is 4 tons of earth. Okay, just to give you an idea of the ratio. They move enough earth in the tar sands every single day to fill up the Toronto Sky Dome. Every single day, that's how much earth they move. They burn 600 million cubic feet of natural gas every day in the tar sands to superheat water to separate the 10% bitumen from 9% clay and sand, to which they mine up out of the boreal forest by removing the top layer of trees, the muskeg, the streams, the ponds, beavers, the moose, the fish, the natives, and just about everything else. And they put it up in big piles, they put it away in boxes for later. They literally roll up the forest like a carpet. They remove all the stuff they call overburden, and then they get at the tar sands and they mine it up. But the stuff that is more than 300 feet below the surface of the forest, it becomes not economically viable to strip mine it. And so what they do is they use a process called in situ, or in-place SAGD, steam-assisted gravity drainage. In other words, they use even more natural gas to superheat water, inject it into the earth, melt the oil under there, suck it up with other pipes, and then so on and so forth. When they separate the water, when they separate the oil from the sand, they use an immense amount of water, and they do recycle it, okay? They use it as much as they can, but eventually the water gets so dirty that they just dump it into these massive tailings ponds. And these tailings ponds shouldn't be called ponds. They're so big, they're really like lakes. They cover 177 square kilometers in northern Alberta. You can see them from the space station. These things are huge. Just one of these tailings ponds have been studied with a hydrological study, and Suncor Tailings Pond number 1, it's 500 meters from the Athabasca River, and this thing leaches 11 million liters per day into the Athabasca River of toxic effluents, naphthic acids, heavy metals, 21 varieties of polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which cause cancer, and this is all going into the river. Now, where do you think this river flows? Right to the Arctic Ocean. And there are dozens of native communities along this river. that have used the Athabasca River for time immemorial as a food source for fishing, as a place for transportation, for hunting, okay? And of course, like all Native people in this country, the natives, the Dene, the Cree, the Métis people that use this watershed for their livelihood have constitutionally enshrined and protected rights to hunt, fish, and trap there, which are being violated daily because the tar sands industry is contaminating the entire ecosystem. People living in and around Fort McMurray live in air quality conditions comparable to the most industrialized cities in China. The situation, has resulted in a huge cancer cluster in the small village of Fort Chipewyan, which happens to be the first settlement in Alberta. Okay, this is the first non-native settlement in the province of Alberta. And, many people in Fort Chip basically say that they might be the first community to go extinct. Why? Well, because of the fact that Fort Chip has 1,200 people, and in the last 10 years, with the trajectory of the tar sands extraction going up and the pollution of the ecosystem going up, there has been a rise in rare forms of cancer and in rare autoimmune deficiencies, okay? Which many local people have associated to the bioaccumulation, toxic exposure to, carcinogens coming down the river as a result of tar sands operations and then leaching into the food system, getting into the fish, the moose, the beaver, the muskrat, the ducks, the geese, etc. Now, the government of Alberta will have you believe that those cancers and those autoimmune deficiencies, well, that's just a lifestyle. Those Indians are lazy, they drink a lot, they smoke a lot of weed, a lot of cigarettes, they gamble a lot, they sit on their asses all day, all right? You won't find those cancer rates in most of the workers in Alberta that are working in the tar sands, right in the pits, in the refineries. Why? Because even though those workers are actually the ones who are drinking a lot, they're mostly single white males from the Maritimes. 55,000 of the 77,000 workers in the tar sands come from the Maritime provinces and are flown in weekly, okay? And why? Because the industry in the Maritimes, what was it? It was fishing. And due to lack of federal oversight, lack of federal management, the fishing industry collapsed, all right? And so there are tens of thousands of workers that are now contributing to another federal sacrifice zone in northern Alberta. It's the tar sands, and they're all coming from the Maritimes. And so, the average man in Fort McMurray is between the ages of 18 and 45, single, and, there's over $5 million in cocaine done every week in Fort McMurray. The alcohol sales are available 24 hours in that town. There's 2 casinos. It's a boom town, And the socioeconomic pressures that come with that kind of influx, you have to understand the city of Fort McMurray was built for 38,000 people. It has the infrastructure to support 38,000 people. There's well over 80,000 people living in Fort Mac now. To get a 1-bedroom apartment, you're looking at $2,500 a month, if not $3,000. To try and buy a property in Fort McMurray, good luck. It's not going to happen, okay? And this has placed incredible pressures, particularly on local Native people, and mostly Native women, especially women with children. There has been a ton of documented cases of women staying in abusive relationships because of homelessness, because they can't afford to rent an apartment, to get a place, so they stay with abusive spouses to keep their kids sheltered because of the inflation attached to just the money that's going through that town. It's insane. It's a boom town. Okay, billions of dollars. And so why am I trying to describe all this to you? Because it's insane. It's of scientific proportions. Who here's seen Total Recall? Arnold Schwarzenegger. A couple of you? That's what it's like. It's like that. It's a story like that. Industry wants to raise extraction in the tar sands from 1.5 million, which they produce today. They produce 1.5 million barrels a day. All of that gets sent to the United States. They want to raise that amount to 3 million barrels by 2015. And by 2030, they want to be producing in excess of 6 million barrels per day. And so the amount of water, of energy, of natural gas, they're going to run out of natural gas in the next 20 years. And so what does industry want to do? They want to build 13 nuclear reactors and nuclearize the tar sands. Use nuclear energy to produce tar sands oil. This is how crazy these people are, okay? Rather than, investing the billions of dollars to produce those nuclear plants, the billions of dollars to, create pipelines and compression stations for carbon capture and storage operations, rather than investing the billions in that, why don't they invest in diversifying Canada's energy portfolio, start building some wind power, start building some solar power, start developing the vast geothermal energy resources. There's enough geothermal energy in Alberta alone to power up the whole continent. Not that we want to do that, but I'm just saying, And so there's a catastrophic situation going on, It's a scandal. And we've been working for the last 5 years to reframe the narrative on tar sands, so that people understand that, tar sands is not ethical. Tar sands ain't ethical. People are dying from cancer. If that river flowed south through Calgary, okay, there would be dozens, if not hundreds of square blocks